Okay, today we're going to learn how to draw and shade a cube. The first thing you want to do to draw a cube is, or the simplest way, is to draw a square, and a square should have pretty equal sides. If you're hand drawing it, it's not going to be exact, but the two opposing sides should be parallel. So then you do 3 angled parallel lines. So these 3 should be parallel. And then you're going to draw the back edges, which are parallel with the front edges. Alright, so the first thing you want to do when you're learning, pardon me, when you're shading a three-dimensional object is you want to pay attention to one surface at a time. You never want to shade across the whole thing. And decide where your light source is coming up from. From this one, we are going to pretend that the light is coming from here, so the light would then shine kind of like that. So on the top, we are going to go from kind of a light medium and always making sure I'm shading right up to my lines and my shading is consistent and I don't see a bunch of pencil lines, and I'm blending those values as I go, not smudging with my fingers or with a paper towel or anything else you might be tempted to smudge with, using your pencil for all those blending areas. And then we're going to go and do pretty much the same thing down here, maybe just a shade darker. It's not getting maybe quite as much direct light. And then going to a light medium. And making sure, cleaning up my lines as I go. So the front surface of this cube is in shadow because the light's kind of shining from over here. So we're going to go from a really dark to a medium dark here. And you want to make sure that you're blending as you go and you're just kind of aware of what your lines are doing. A lot of times when you're shading in a really dark section like this, it's easy to just go into auto mode and not really pay attention to what you're doing. And then before you know it, you've got the whole thing colored or shaded in pitch black and there's no value change, or you've got really bad pencil lines ground in and it's hard to blend. So even though it's a larger section, you still want to be aware of what you're doing and intentional about where you're making marks. And you want to make sure that there is contrast along each of your lines, so you don't want to see like no change of value from here to here, because then it flattens the object out and it no longer looks three-dimensional. So you have to pay attention to what you're doing and make sure that those lines look more like edges. You never want to go in and outline something more if your values are the same. That doesn't work. It doesn't help because right now we're trying to create the illusion of there being 3 dimensions on this object. We want depth and volume, and so if you're just outlining it, it tends to tell our brains that that's more of a illustration or kind of a cartoony drawing. So resist the urge to make really dark outlines and instead use your values to show a change in surface. because that's how we can tell if a surface changes direction, because it's shaded or it's got a different value. The light hits it differently. And that is how you shade a cube.